Hey guys, this is going to be hopefully a quick video, but I'm going to do it because I've not seen anything else online for this particular drill, and it's a Bosch UBH 2/20SE, and we'll swap over to the overhead cam when I get it on the bench, so it's not perfect viewing at the moment, but like I say, I'm not going to go to town with this because it's a very old drill, and the reason for doing this is that I broke, you can just see that on the camera, I broke the little bit here that alters it to a hammer drill, the little like lever, and I'm gonna take this back to back to bits and grease it. So I've had it apart once already, just to check to see if I could repair it. It needed a new oil seal at the front here, which I'm going to fit now. Put some new grease in it. I'm going to swap over to the overhead cam so you guys can see, as well as possible. My hands are going to get greasy, so I'm not going to do much editing. It'll just be as it comes. The idea really is to, if anybody has got one of these drills and trying to repair it, I'm going to show you what's behind here. So hopefully when you try to take your little lever off, you don't break it like I've done. I'm going to have to manufacture something there, I think. Anyway, without any more ado, let's get on the overhead camera and start recording. So here we are on the bench, guys, and hopefully you can probably just see that hole a little bit better now. And what came out of that was this sort of thing here, and the flat bit there in the picture, the flat bit there goes along the long part of that module like that. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so that's how it should go. And if you see, there's just like a slight ridge there, just here, and inside there, if I can get this up close enough, you can see just something shining there, and that actually pushes that way. We'll see it inside in a moment when I take the drill to bits, but it pushes that way. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to get this on under here, and it just wouldn't come off, and eventually it just broke. So, like I said, that does the hammer action. So, and it's in that way there, and the flat side of that there is down inside. So it's so the flat side is facing there. Then that's when it's in hammer action mode. When it turns around that way, clockwise, quarter of a turn, then it's in non-hammer action mode. There's a little bit of inside there. I don't know if you can see that, but inside there, I just slide that out like a little piece of metal. That obviously helps push inside. That just slides inside there like that. So we need to put that in too. So today, and this is, I'm no expert, guys. I'm just going to put some lithium multi-purpose grease in the gearbox, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil into the piston part that does the hammer action, and hopefully that'll, I've not even looked at how thick this grease is, but hopefully that'll make this grease a little bit less well, alter its viscosity, so when it's spinning around inside, it actually wants to move about a bit and keep covering all the parts. So that's my intention. Bit of context: I got this second hand 30 years ago, maybe, and so all this wear and tear isn't what I've done to it. It was a contractor's tool. He'd bought a new one. I bought this off him second hand, and I've had it for 30 odd years. I don't do a lot with it, but what was happening is the oil seal, which is this is the new one, sits in the end there. What was happening is that every time I extracted the drill bit, there was all oil and grease all over here, which was quite annoying. It again all over my hands, and obviously eventually it was going to end up with no grease and stuff inside and seize up. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to change the oil seal, I'm going to strip this back down, we're going to put some new grease in it, fingers crossed, and as you see at the moment, it's plugged in at the moment, it actually works. Let's make sure that's unplugged like that and start taking it to bits. So first of all, what we're going to do is we've got a little screw here, and you should have two at the bottom here. I've only got one, it seems, so let's take those two out. I'll speed up as we go, guys, to try and make this as short as possible, because I think it's probably going to take about an hour to record. You guys won't want to see that, but I will try and keep most of it in so you guys can pause, simply because it's a little bit complicated inside. We're going to take this off. Obviously, again, just make sure it's unplugged. Live connections in the back here. Let's put those to one side like this, and then the first thing we need to do is take out the brushes, because when we extract this body, there's a bearing on this side here. Over here there's a bearing, and you've just got that chance that when you extract this part, that bearing might break the brushes. And again, we're talking a 40-year-old drill. You're probably not going to get these brushes. I don't know, I haven't looked, but I'm just going to suggest you've not. So we're just going to extract this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw carefully, because they are screwed into plastic, so we don't want to slip with our screwdriver. So we're just going to carefully undo them, making sure our screwdriver stays in the notch of the screw. We don't do anything silly, and we've got the drill place at this so we don't lose those screws into the internal mechanism. A pair of pincers to get anything that we drop out, so we don't end up losing anything inside the drill, although we would be able to recover it this time. But when we come to put this back in, put these screws back in, we don't want to lose them inside the drill. Okay, so that's all 4 of those out. I'm going to take this drill bit out like that, and then we should be able to put this up like that, and hopefully you can see that now better. What I'm going to do now, we need to lift these out and away. So the commutator, the motor's here, and these brushes stick in there like that, on like spring loaded. So we're just going to extract them out, pull them up a bit, and then pull them away like that. Same with this side. Pull it up. Remember, these are very old wires, guys. And they're okay. They're not cracking or anything, but they are old. So just be careful with it. I can see that there is a little filtering capacitor in here. Be aware that this has had mains on it, so there could be a little bit of voltage in that there. So just be aware of that. If I was doing this again, actually, I would probably press the trigger while these were still attached, to make sure that was dissipated. Okay, so that's that bit done. So now I should be able to take out the 4 bolts here and extract that from that, and that will bring the motor out, and we'll see the COM at the end. So let's do that. I've just thought, actually, before I do that, I'm going to take this off here. And this is just a bung, if you like, it just sits inside, but it's very difficult to get off unless you've got some sort of ability to put it down like that. So I'm going to just get my screwdriver in there. If this is I don't think it will be with an old drill, but if it's a bit of a struggle, just put some lubrication around it. Of course, because I've had mine apart already, I've cleaned a lot of the lubrication off. It makes it a little bit more difficult. That will come off with it to one side, and we see there the mechanism, which we're going to take to bits. Probably can do that first. Let's take that to bits now. So let's see how this sits. Let's get the, if I can, right. Okay, so that's the side we want to see. That side's going to have the ball bearing in it. We see the ball bearing there, hopefully. So what we're going to do is we've got a little bit of a, and I'm going to break those. So I'm going to break those brushes if I'm not careful here. So I'm just going to push those back in for a second. I think in hindsight, if you're watching this video and you're going to do this job yourself, it would be better to take this bit to bits first and then take the back off. It just sits better, and you're not going to damage anything at the back here. What we've got here is we've got like a little ring. It's quite, you know, if you get into this stage, you're going to see what this is. Quite easy to get off this bit. It's just a ring sat in a little divot inside the shaft. So I'm just literally going to just get my screwdriver, push that up, and it just comes straight off. And if I fold that over the top like that, it'll just come off. So we've got a little ring like that into a little divot to hold everything on. And just be careful, there's a ball bearing in here, guys. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to push the ball bearings around the other side. I'm going to push this down, and then we see the ball bearing. Just take that out. Don't lose it, guys. Things have a lovely habit of rolling off the bench and dropping onto the floor, never to be found again. We've got this on there next. Now, I just noticed this. You might be thinking that that tab is to hold that ball bearing, but it's not. This bit gets for the ball bearing side, so the tab goes on the other side of the hole, if you like. So let me just, so remember, that's where the ball bearing is. The other side of the shaft is completely different. In fact, I'll take the spring off. The spring goes off on that way around like that. That's where the ball bearing goes. The other side is completely different. That goes on with the concaved part down towards the drill, with that part on the opposite side of the hole, like that. And if you look at that little bit, there's a clear bit then for the ball bearing to sit in and hold, like that. So just bear that in mind. And that's it. That's as much as we can take off at this point, just there. So we'll move these to one side. We don't lose them. And we'll go ahead now and take those back out at the back. And we'll start removing these 4 screws here. Loosen them off in a Katie corner sort of a way. Just because there is an oil seal inside here, another one, which I'm assuming I can't get a replacement for because it's obviously a bespoke part. There you go. I think that's going to come off now. There you go. That's off. 4 bolts in there. Let's just recover those so we don't lose them. There you go. 4 big bolt screws actually sit in there. Let's put those down there safe. As you can see, I've done quite a bit of cleaning inside there. Originally, that was quite greasy in there, to be fair. If I just push up on the end of here, that will now come out like that. And then just be aware that in the bottom of there is a thrust bearing. So let's just take that out. Get a little screwdriver underneath that. Should be 3 parts to that, guys. Oops, drop that down into some of the grease. That, and then there's the washer in the bottom. Doesn't want to come out. Go. Get down my screwdriver. There you go. So you've got, just clean that. So you've got a little thrust bearing and 2 washers there. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bearings inside it. We have got some holes around it, but I think they're supposed to be emptied. And it sits together like that, so it gets crushed and it can spin. And that actually sits on the end of there when it's inside. Okay, and just be careful with that bit. We're going to come back to it, but there's a spring inside there and it's spring loaded. So just be aware of that, so it doesn't all drop to bits on you. But we'll look at that in a moment. So that's the thrust bearing, and that sits inside there. There's a little hole here. Now the other thing you need to know is that in the bottom there's a race bearing in the bottom of there, a bit like a wheel bearing on a car. Now that does come out. We're gonna push that down with a screwdriver. It does come out, but just be careful. We don't want to damage the bearings. We want to sort of get on this side of that. There you go. It's gone out. Okay, so we'll take that out. Now I want to just notice that there is a cut here in the frame. See that on the camera? There you go. You've got a good angle there of it. Just be aware that when that goes back in, guys, it wants to sit next to where that thrust bearing sits. It's pretty obvious once you come to do that, but just be aware that when you put that in, it needs proper placement. Otherwise, the whole drill won't go back together properly. Okay, so that's that bit. I'm not going to take that bearing out of there because there's no point. There's nothing wrong with that bearing. Just give it a bit of a re-grease and then put that back in as it stands. So just clean off anything and get all over my bench. I'll store it. There you go, over there. The famous oil seal is in here, and that's what I need to replace. So I'm just going to push that down, and to be honest, guys, it's a knackered seal, so it's coming out. It's even more knackered now, guys. I don't want to damage the I don't want to damage the shell that it's sealing against, so I need to be a bit careful, but it has got to come out one way or another, guys. So there you go, it's gone. So I've used a nice thin blade and just pushed down like that gently. Tried not to damage the inside of the ring because obviously that's got to be sealed. Get rid of any crap there because that's where the new seal is going to go. So any sort of up inside there, inside that lip, if you like, needs to be cleaned out. And I don't know if you probably can't see that on the camera because the light's crap. But essentially, you've got a nice clean base now for the new seal to go in. So that's good. That bit's now. Oh, and also I'll just point out that when I first took it to bits, inside this bit, which you'll see if you were doing this job, all the old grease was quite bad inside there. It was all sort of congealed, sat inside there. I'm going to repack that with fresh grease because I'm thinking that it's obviously a collection point and it's going to starve the gears of grease. So I will fill that up with new grease before I put it all back together, I think. Okay, so what did we have? So that, as a reminder, that came out of that. And there's not a lot we can do with this part, guys. I'm gonna just leave that as it is. Mine's working well. I'm gonna give it a bit of a clean. Inside there we have something for the hammer to hit. But apart from that, guys, there's not really a lot to see with that. There's some sort of spring there, but again, it doesn't need to come off. It's a similar idea with like a spring clip washer holding that on there. But I think that's fine. We'll just leave that. We get a bit of a clean up. We'll pack some new grease in that when we put it back together. So that's that. Now, what we've got here now is we've got the hammer action. Now we should be able to pull this out now. Remember, we've undone the brushes here, so they're not going to get caught on anything as I pull this out. But I'm going to do this very carefully because what you don't want to do is damage the windings in there. See those windings there inside there? You really don't want to damage them. It will be good night for this drill if you damage those. I want to give it a gentle wipe, but again, on this part, I'm not going to go mad. It's pretty well sealed from front to back there, so they shouldn't really be getting much oil. It's going to get a little bit contamination, as you can see. It shouldn't really be getting too much in there, so I'm gonna leave that alone. And now I'm going to put that to one side. Let's have a look at the bit what I broke. So that's the lever. Goes on like that, as I said before. It sits inside that hole there. Down there. Let's see if I can get a good angle on this. You see that little piece of metal there? That goes in there like that. So it can turn. That's not actually doing anything other than holding that bit in. So that little silver bit that keep catching the light, that's going to sit inside that little, oh, there's a little washer on there too. That's going to sit inside that divot there. So that's actually, it's not doing anything other than holding this lever to stop it from coming back out. I'm not going to push it back in. I'm going to repair it. What you'll notice is that if I can get that in the light, what it's actually doing, it pushes back. It pushes back and it's curved. So theoretically, when I got my screwdriver underneath, it should have given enough to allow that to come out without breaking. Sadly, it did not. And it literally is just a piece of metal sprung around there. How it's actually working inside is that when it's in, like that, then if I turn this, you can see the hammer going up and down. The idea is that when that turns inside there, there's a little bit of metal there, and we'll see this when we take this apart. It pushes that, and it pushes this shaft slightly out, like that. So that's in, and that's out. And when I do that, it's still, oh, not quite pull it out far enough, I don't think. Oh, I have. There you go. It stopped the piston. Turn that back, so the flat side's in, which allows that to go all the way in, and then goes all the way in. The piston should start rocking, which it's not doing. I might have to edit this out, but trust me, it does work. Okay, quite got that in there, I don't think. Very delicate. It's certainly precision. There you go. That's working. I pull this out just a little bit, but it's still in, not too much. Then it stops it working. That's the logic of the operation. Anyway, that turns around. It either sits this nice and in, or it moves it out just enough so it doesn't activate the hammer. It's as simple as that. Let's take that apart, and just bear in mind that there's a little rubber wash on there, obviously to keep the oil inside. We'll just put that to one side. Let's take this part to bits just so you can see how it works. Now, the first thing to consider is that bit comes out like that. Inside there, I'm going to hold that so it doesn't all drop to pieces. Inside there, if it'll come out, there's a spring that went down inside there. Then we can extract this like that. There's only one way for these bits to go back. Well, there isn't actually. Point out that when that bit goes inside there, I think it's pretty obvious, but you've got a thinner part of the shaft there and a thicker part. It's the thicker bit that goes inside. So it's like that essentially. Okay. Once that bit's out, you'll see that this comes to bits like that. Okay. Clean that up a little bit. That goes on my bench. This bench is normally reserved for electronics. I don't really want to get oil all over it, but this bench is also the one that's got my camera above it, so trying to not have to move all the camera equipment away. And then just be aware that that now will come off, and it doesn't really matter which way it goes on. It's exactly the same regardless. It's a yeah, it's completely the same. Doesn't matter which way it goes. Clean it up a little bit. That on my bench. This bit does not extract, so don't try and pull that. As far as I can work out, that stays the same. We've got this oil, well, it's like a rubber band. I'm not going to take it off because I don't really want to disturb it. and just be careful that when you're cleaning it, clean it too hard, it wants to move out of its positioning, if you like. And for me, it's best to leave it in its original positioning. It's been there 40 years doing its job. So I'm gonna leave that there. The only bit left now is we can extract the piston. And the bit to notice here is that you've got this hole here. See that? That's got a hole in it, and two washers here. And if you push that, it will fall to bits. It will come out like that. And that's the part there. Again, it obviously can go in either way. It's the same all the way around. Ultimately, what's happening there is this bit we looked at sits inside that hole and moves as that, because it holds that central. As that spins around, it moves the piston backwards and forwards. I think that's pretty easy to understand when you're at this bit. I think you'll soon pick that back up. But essentially, what you got to remember is that a washer goes on either side, like that, when it's inside there. Right, okay. So that's that part. And inside there, piston itself, we've got like some sort of plunger. I'm assuming that can come out. I'm going to see if I can find a pair of an older pair of snipe nose pliers, because I don't want to use my electrical snipe nose pliers. Get them covered in oil. I don't know if this is going to come out. I'm not going to force it if it doesn't want to come out. I'm just going to try and grab hold of it and tease it out. No, I don't think that wants to come out. It's under some sort of pressure, I think. Under some sort of pressure inside. Oh no, it's come. There you go, it's come out. It's come out. Just see what's in here. I've not took this out before. There's nothing in there. That's just a shaped part. Okay. We've got just a little airlock there, look. Okay. I'll just put a little bit of oil around that, I think, when I put that back in. Put that back in. Okay. So that's obviously what's causing the air. So that's what them holes are for in the side, to let the air out. Now I'm going to assume that when that goes back in, then, and I didn't notice this, does it have a way, or no? It doesn't really matter, does it? But what I will do is, I think when I put that back in, I shall push them holes to the inside of the drill. Just thinking of whether it helps with oil and grease to keep that moving around the insides. But anyway, that was interesting. I've not took that to bits before, so that sits in there like that. And then that's it, kind of. You can't really do a lot more with that. That's the race bearing inside there, but that feels okay. I don't know whether it'll do another 40 years, but it's okay. Just give that a bit of a clean inside there. Put some new grease in there and oil. That'll do. Can't get this obviously fully clean. I'm going to obviously clean this come up when it goes back in. I'll probably put some IPA, some isopropyl alcohol, I think they call it. Probably pronounced that completely wrong. Again, I'm trying to be really careful with these windings, guys. I'm trying not to get much grease on there. I won't do it much good, and it'll just make it stink when it's spinning, and potentially create some carbon around the com. So again, we want to clean it up with a nice fresh bit of cleaner. But that's it. We're now apart, guys. Now time to start putting it back together with the grease and oil. I think the first thing I need to do, guys, I'm not going to do any more cleaning up because it's just pointless. I'm just going to put some new grease in. There's still quite a bit of grease in there. But there's not really a lot I can do with that, guys, other than I could rinse it out with some petrol or something. But honestly, I think I'm probably just going a bit OTT. So I think I'll just do a quick clean around here, just because this is where that oil seal fits, the orange one. try and make that some pretty sticky crap on there. Probably a bit of petrol would help, but I'm not going to do that, guys. I mean, this is not this is a DIY sort of drill for me, and I'm just trying to stop it making a mess when I use it. So I think that's okay. I think that's ready for a new bit of tissue there now. So the first thing I'm going to need to do, guys, is put the new oil seal in. Now the oil seal goes down the shaft in that way, so this bit's going to point upwards like that. You can see that there's a ridge in there. That's going to go inside there, and it needs to go down in there, and I need to push it quite square, guys. Technically, I think I could do with a press. I haven't got a press. I thought about 3D printing a large shaft thing to go in there, but I haven't got such a thing. So I wonder if a socket would do it. And if I could get a socket, just let me pause the video and see if I can find a socket. Although my nice laptop. Oh well, in the name of science, guys. Okay, guys, so I'm back, and I've found myself this socket. It's actually 26mm, but it's the outer diameter socket, and it needs to be able to fit, obviously, inside there, like that. This seal, you can buy these anywhere, but you don't have to go to Bosch. This seal was a 28 by 37 by 7. I've got some close-up macro shots of the old one before I ordered it, but it does say 28 37 by 7 here. It needs to go down like that. So I'm going to drop it. Make sure it's the right way up. Make sure it sort of sits kind of level in the bottom, like that, as much as I can. Again, this is my electronics bench, so I don't want to hit this too hard. I'm just going to just put that in there. Let's see if a toffee hammer will do it. Toffee hammer. Obviously, don't want to hit the lens. Make sure I'm pretty straight. I'm sure there's a professional way of doing this, but I think looking at that looks pretty well seated. I'm quite happy with that. That's seated very well. That can go in the bin. And those can just go down on the floor for now. Okay, so that's that part done. So let's start putting back together this part. So some grease. Now, is it worth putting this? Is it worth putting that in first? I think it might be, because what I learned from last time is that when I try to drop this down, everything just falls to bits. So I'm going to drop this bit here, put some grease on here, and drop it back down to where it sits. Remembering that this lip, if I can get that on that lip there, needs to go around the thrust bearing hole. Pretty obvious when you're looking down there, even if you guys can't see it. Let's get some grease. Oh, crikey, put that back on there. There you go. I think that looks okay. Drop that now back down there. Remembering that the lip needs to go in a particular way. Oh, didn't want to drop it that much, but there you go, it's in. And we'll just use a screwdriver to make sure that it sits where it needs to be, and then actually maybe I'll just push that down again using that just to get it nice and into the bottom. That's that part back in, I think. I'm questioning if that's gone all the way down. I'm really honest. It has. Yes, it's definitely gone all the way down, because of course that lip on that part that I just put in sits on top of a lip within the shell itself, so that's okay. So let's see if we can start getting this bit back together. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this spring. Drop that in there. A little bit of grease on that part. And there it goes. It's like a spring-loaded part. Obviously now catching the air too. It's fine. We're now going to put this bit on here again, and have a little bit of grease on there. It sits on there like that. Put that up there like that. Can you guys see? There you go. Put that on there like that, so it sits in the teeth of the motor. And there like that. And then we've got what goes on next. This bit goes on next. So again, we're probably going to need a bit of grease on this. There you go. Do that. Might be easier actually to put this through there like that. That on there like that. Or just out of interest, just so you can see that part that I broke. That's the metal part. Hopefully that's catching the glint of the lighting. And if you notice here, I'll just clean a bit of grease off that so you guys can see, there's like a little ball bearing in the bottom of that. So as that spins, sits like that. I'm going to do this upside down. It spins like that. It sits like that when the hammer actions are active, and then when you turn that lever, it pushes that spindle, if you like, for want of a better way of pushing it, pushes it away. It doesn't push the cog away. It just pushes the spindle inside. I can probably replicate that. As I turn that, it does that inside, and that stops this bit catching on the grooves. Those grooves there. It's in there like that. It will catch on the grooves, and when it's not, it won't. So that's how that's actually working. Back to one side again. So I now need to try and get that. I'm getting crap all over this commutator, but there's not a lot I can do about it. So that's going to go back in there. That's all greased up. And I need to grease this part up and get this back together. So let me put a little bit of grease around that seal there. Put that back in there like that, all the way to the bottom. Nice little, doesn't go to the bottom, it's like under pressure when it gets to the bottom, air pressure. That tells me it's working. Now, what I'm going to suggest here as a little tip, put some grease on these, because I think the grease is going to be your friend when trying to get this in. As in, I want it to do is I want to get that through there like that. Put a washer on and a second washer on, like that. But the grease is helping now to keep those two washers at the sides to give me the hole. I don't know if you can see that, guys. That's the best picture. You see how the washers are now, the grease is keeping the washers out of the way and leaving me the hole free for that part to go in. It's going to go in there like that. But obviously, it has to go in there first. So let's stick a load of grease down inside there. More fresh grease on this bearing. Okay, I think that's okay. So that's now going to slide inside there, like that way. The hole pointing upwards, not too far because it's getting quite greasy now, and the grease is making it so the air can't pass, and that means when you push it down, it won't want to come back out. So just be a bit careful with that. If I was doing this again, I'd probably wrap a bit of nice tissue paper around that comb. Right, so now what I've got to try and do now is I've got to try and get that in there and that back in that hole there. Oh, I just thought I might just stick some grease on this bearing here, like that. Definitely some on this motor spline here, like that. Probably here. Plenty of grease, we love it. We're going to put that in there, and we're going to drop that in there, and just let that go inside the hole. Now the thing is, you want that to be nice and in. If it's in, it should do that. Being very careful not to get my my tissue caught up in all that. But that's what it should be doing. Now it's not moving the piston. So that means that is not properly in. Not happy with that. Not quite in. We might need to just take a little toffee hammer to that. I want to pull that little bit out. Get the toffee hammer. Just make sure that oh, that's because that's not the right way around, guys. Splines are on this side. That's better. That's going to work now. Get that in there properly. There you go. I don't know if you saw that on video, but it kind of went, and you just know that it's that it's in place. That's better, look. So this part here, this sits in a particular way. I didn't notice that before when I took it to bits, so that's worth noting. It sits in a particular way to make it work. There you go. That's working now. So this bit, I don't know if I was on camera, this bit here that drives the piston up and down, that it can be the wrong way around. You're looking for the splines on this side. So those splines sit inside there, and they must go inside something at this side. The other sides got nothing for the splines to sit in. That's why it didn't work. Okay, that's that. Right, okay, so I need some, I think I'll probably just put a bit of grease in there. Maybe we're going to put a bit of oil in there too, I think. Put a little bit of oil down there too, I think. Okay, we're going to put it together. So that's that. Is there anything else that we need to put on? Are we missing anything? I don't believe we are. The next thing is going to be this. So again, I think we need, that's obviously going to take the hammer action. So we're going to put plenty of grease down here. So that's nice and lubricated. I think this is the part I'm going to just drop a little bit of oil into there, I think. Might regret that. There was a hole there. I might not pour too much in that. Okay. Maybe I'll pour some oil in before I seal it up. That's going to go on there like that. Now, just be aware, I didn't point this out before, there is a thrust bearing there, look. And it sits on a washer there. That washer there, look. There's a washer there, look. Yeah. So, yeah, okay. So that sits on there like that. For it to race around there. So I think that's all good. There you go. That's back together. Lubrication around there. Right. I think final lubrication. I think that's okay. I think that's going to work. Okay. So I think now that, I'll tell you what we do need to do next. We've got the little thrust bearing that goes in the bottom in that corner, which we mentioned first. So that was this one, if you recall. You get that in there. Again, I might just put a little bit of grease on that. It'll also help it to hold together. Put that down my screwdriver. Put that in the hole and then drop that down like that, so it sits in the bottom, exactly in the right place. Now I'm hoping that when I put this in, it wants to go like that because that's how it wants to actually sit. I'm going to position that just in the right place, so this bit wants to go inside that thrust bearing we've just entered. I'm going to slide that inside there like that, and there you go. That's that in there. I think should turn it is doing okay. So I think that looks good. I think we'll put that bit on at the very end again. Anything I've missed off? No, looking at the parts on the bench, it's exactly as I would have expected. A little bit more. Weirdly, I can feel the grease inside the, oh yeah, I can see now. It's pierced these gloves a little bit. I wanted to wear these see-through gloves rather than the black gloves I would normally wear, and this just because I felt it would show the parts up better. Hopefully it was worth it because I've got grease all over my hands. Never mind. Now I think the only thing I haven't put any oil in there. I don't know if I'm going to bother. I might just pour a little bit of oil inside, not too much, but try not to get too much on my bench. But also it's going to want to leak out the bottom. I'm going to try and angle it just right. It's going to want to leak out the bottom, of course, because the oil seal is not in place. I think that will do. Just to give that grease a little bit more viscosity, so it wants to continue to lubricate everything. And I think now it's a case of putting the end bit back on. So let's go ahead and do that. That's very careful. Oh no, hang on. First of all, before I do that, let's just have that tipped up slightly that way. Literally, I want to clean this up with some isopropyl alcohol. Just grab some of that I want this bottle and this bottle. So I've got some here in a jar. It's not the cleanest of stuff. I still probably got some printer ink in it, to be fair, but it will do the first draft, and then I've got a nice fresh bottle here, which will be better afterwards. I'm not going to put too much on it. I'm just going to do that, clean around the comb, fresh bit of tissue. You can see what's coming off, look. Trying to get it on the windings, literally clean the comb. Evaporates really quickly, so nothing to worry about this, and you could get it from a chemist or online. IPA, isopropyl. I'll put it on the screen, I can't pronounce it. If you're into 3D printing, you've probably got some of this laying about anyway. Awesome, except my oil that I put in has leaked out all over the place. Keep the oil on the right side of the device. Right, let's try and get that back together quickly before it wants to start leaking out the bottom. We've got the brushes out, so we should just carefully put that inside there now, like that. Should sit nice. Let's not let the stuff fall out again. Should go in there like that. It's a little bit tight because, of course, some of the new grease is making some of those, like the what they call it, the piston, and that little part that was under that spring. That's pushing back now harder than it was before. I think the oil perhaps wasn't such a good idea, and if I did this again, I might not put either so much in it, or maybe I would just use a little bit more viscosity grease, I think a little bit thinner grease. Need to put these back in here. Brushes. One in. There you go. That's got it in. That's got it in. Right now, it would be a disaster if I was to lose one of these little screws inside. So I'm going to position it. It might not be the best camera angle for you guys, but I'm going to position this so as I don't lose any of these little tiny screws inside the comb. Don't really want to take it to bits again. I'm going to do this really carefully. Remember, we're screwing these into plastic. They don't want to be too tight, but don't want to come undone either. Don't just nip them up. I'll show you this when I've done it, but you can see I've put two silver screws in there to hold them down. I'm going to do these two next. Okay, so that's all 4 of those brushes in there. Let's just put the wiring back so it's not going to get trapped. I'll put the end bit on the casing. Ooh, me just noticed that doesn't look quite right at the bottom here. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't like it. It looks like it should be like that. Based on there's a little bit of a divot there for that to sit in. But it really doesn't want to sit in there anymore. There you go. That's got it. It's got to go nice and firmly in there. Clearly wasn't, because I can see the dirt where the dirt. But if we're going to do it, let's do it right, guys. That's better. That's better. There you go. Quite happy with that. The end back on. So what we need to do is to get these bits back on the bench. I'm going to put too much oil around these, but maybe just a little bit so we don't lose the little ball bearing. So the ball bearing is going to go inside the hole like that. I'm going to put the spring on, so it's going down out like a pyramid. We go like that. Then we're going to put this bit on next, top of the spring. And remember what we said about this part? It's a little, let's call it like a hole type dint here. That wants to go. Oh, actually, done that wrong. Sorry, guys. Rewind. I've got to put that on first. That's got to go in on there. That's got to go on there. And the ball bearing goes inside there, like that. That goes on top of there to keep the ball bearing in. And then make sure you get this bit right. This bit is the most complicated part. Well, not the most complicated part, but got to get the ball in there, and it's got to sit, and that's got to push against it like that. It should really hold itself. Noticing that. Look at how that is. The ball is here, guys. The shape of that shim or whatever it is. Notice that there's like this little tap. To fall away with all the oil on it, but this little bit here, it's shaped like that, and that's going down into the drill, and it's going behind the spring. So if you get the spring in just the right place, it wants to sit with the spring. The ball bearing just fell out, but if that's in the right place, then that little bit wants to sit behind the spring. Very awkward. Where's my ball bearing gone, guys? Where did the ball bearing go? Oh no. Probably gone on the floor, never to be found again. Well, it's definitely not there, guys. So everything's on the floor. One moment, please. Okay, guys, I'm actually back. Well, after looking on the floor for a little bit of time, I need some new gloves. I found the ball bearing. It actually wasn't on the floor. It was actually fell down inside one of the fixing holes, like in there. One of the fixing holes where the screw's down. It was just sat in there. So when I picked the drill up another time to just check my bench again, it fell out. Oh well, these things are sent to triers, aren't they? So let's I've done some new gloves because the old ones were pretty knackered. Okay, the last push. So we've got that there. Let's try again. Spring on first. This on there. That way up. Like that. Down. On. Ball bearing in. Hole. This washer. Like that. This little clip. It's a little bit difficult, but not too difficult. It's just a case of getting it like that. And then if I found that if I just hold that, so this side here is in where it needs to be, then I find that if I just get a screwdriver, I can quite easily just tap it down like that, and that's it, it's on. Should be doing that. I don't think it really matters. I'm just going to spin that round to the opposite side. I dare say it moves when it's in being used. And then that should go on top like that. And then this little bit here, I'm going to put a little bit of, not too much, but a little bit of oil on there. Like I say, not too much, just a little bit, just to make it flow a little bit better. I should do. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little bit around here just so it wants to sit on nicely, like that. Okay, that's going to go on there like that, and then just going to push that on there. It just sits in, sort of. Drill should go inside, locked in. Brilliant. Time to see if it's actually working, I think. Obviously it wants to clean up, guys, and I think I'm gonna have to do something with that there, because that seal, we're gonna need to seal that there. I have to repair that before I push that back in, and that little O-ring, I'm assuming, tries to seal that hole. I'm either going to regret putting so much oil in there, to be honest, guys, and if I was going to do this again, truthfully, full transparency, I don't think I would use the oil in future. I think I'd just fill it with grease and call it a day. Okay. Worst case scenario for me is I will 3D print something the same size, drop that in, and seal that as a whole. Because I can't remember ever using this drill without the hammer action. So frankly, if it has to stay in hammer action mode all the time, but have that hole sealed, then so be it. It should work in hammer action mode without that on. Let's just plug it in and see what happens. There you go. Well, I think that's a success. And that's the end of the video. I'll clean it up and somehow repair that. I'm thinking some sort of drill inside it, get something hot, push it inside the plastic, same on this side, maybe drill all the way through it. Yes, I might put one of those them brass, they're like a brass threaded nut, for want of a better word, usually, you know, a little bit long, maybe able to sink one of those in there, 2mm, and then put a 2mm bolt to hold that down, put a bit of epoxy on it maybe. But I'll try that. I've got a feeling that oil's going to want to leak out of here because I've damaged it quite a lot trying to get this off, and I don't think that O-ring's going to seal that anymore. It might want to start weeping grease, so I might end up having to just leave it in hammer mode anyway, and just use it that way, seal the hole up. But that's the main thing. I hope that's been useful. I've got a feeling that, you know, maybe this video will get one view. I can't see it getting many. This is a very old drill, which is why I'm not going to do too much editing. So apologies if you did want to see this video and just sat through, well, crikey knows how long it took me to do that. Apologies for that, but hopefully you've got some information, you find it useful. Thanks for watching, guys. Goodbye.